guys. I just got ready for bed, so I don't really look that great. But I had this weird... Well, I just have the need to, like, create right now. But I was gonna go to sleep, and I was like, oh, tomorrow I'll, like, sing, maybe write some stand-up, work on a monologue for college. And then I had this feeling, and it was like, hey, Dylan, make a video about how to write stand-up comedy. And you might be thinking, are you a stand-up comedian? Why would I listen to you? And, I performed at the improv, if you know. If you're getting into stand-up comedy, you gotta know what the improv is. Rule number 1. I did some stand-up there. I did stand-up at Upright Citizens Brigade, UCB. Amy Poehler started there. You need to know about that. That's rule number 2. And I did some stand-up at my open mic night at my high school. Here's the process. This is how it works for me. If you're like, I know that this is what happened to me, okay? I used to watch a lot, well, I still watch a lot of stand-up, but before I wrote any, I would watch it, and I would watch kids that were my age. Like, I was like 15, and there was like a 15-year-old, and he made it to like these like places and got like awards or something, or won something. And I didn't think he was that funny. Maybe this is mean, but I was like, that's not that funny. And I was like, I could most definitely write something better than that. I just didn't know how. And I was like, that... And then I felt like my youth was like passing by because I turned 16. But that's when I went on the show with Wayne Brady. And Sinbad told me my stand-up was funny. Okay, so this is what I do. For me, I think there's 2 different ways to write this. Well, first, you need to observe. You need to find ordinary things and be able to make jokes about them. I wrote a stand-up joke about a luggage belt. Okay, you're at the airport, though, passing a luggage belt. What's funny about that? Nothing. You need to observe the things that are oddities about normalities. You know what I'm saying here? So, like, something completely normal, if your mind sees things in a different light, it's going to be easier to come up with this. And for me, I can't really just sit down and be like, I'm going to write a stand-up joke. It needs to be like, I'm at the airport, walking past a luggage belt, something sparks in my mind, that's weird. I should write that down. And if I have the time right there and then, I usually just write down my, like, most of my jokes are a minute to like 2.5 minutes. I type it all out right there. That's how it works for me. So I spit it all out at once. That's how I write poetry as well. So it's like I get inspiration immediately, it all comes out. And then obviously I'll like, if I think of a funny sentence later when I'm like writing it down onto paper from my phone, I'll add that. Or if there's like a typo or something, obviously I'll fix that. But that's how it works for me. The only issue with that is that if I were actually, well, I'm only 17, so I can't necessarily be going to open mics or clubs. And also, current state of the world. Okay. But, yeah, it's good to have a set, and when you're feeling inspired, maybe try and push that, like, what has been funny, you know? It is really hard for me, though. If, like, there's been months that have gone by where nothing is just hitting me that way. But yeah, and then my friend TJ from the show said he likes testing his stand-up ideas in conversation. And I would catch him doing this a lot. So he would make a joke to me in a conversation, and I'd be like, oh, that's funny. And he's like, it's actually a stand-up joke I'm working on. And then he just sees how people react to it, which is pretty smart because, like, if you don't have, like, close friends or family or some sort of, like, troupe or team that you can give your material to, perform your material for, you're just kind of going out on stage blindly. And it can be very embarrassing, but I think it's also, it builds, you need to have pretty thick skin when you're gonna be doing this. I mean, comedy is a very vulnerable thing. People think that it's just being funny, but a lot of comedians use comedy for coping or for talking about serious things, but kind of with like a filter over it. And I think comedy is one of the most important things Big Mouth, for example, is a hilarious show. And this season, this fourth season, hit so many aspects that need to be discussed while also being hilarious. Like, it's more education than I learned in sex ed in middle school or elementary school or whatever, and as funny as SNL, you know? So, if you can do that, also, if you have, and then another thing about stand-up for me, if dark comedy isn't really a thing. Dark humor isn't a thing. That's not real. You don't want to offend your audience. It's like, if you need to use shock factor in that sense, then what you have written down and what you have coming out of your brain, what you can create, it isn't gonna be, I'm sorry, but it's not for you. Like, if you can make a PG set about something random, then you can do this. It's okay to cuss, or it's okay to talk about drugs or alcohol or something like that, something that's not PG. I have jokes about that kind of stuff too, but if you are able to make comedy for certain audiences, that's when it's more like, okay, you can do this. Like, I don't know, you can joke about things that have happened to you, like your own traumatic experiences, your own race, or your own, but, or like, I could talk about women, or being a woman, but if a man goes on stage and is talking about, oh, women, like, that's not really funny. If I went on stage and started talking about people of color, that's not funny at all. You can joke about your own experiences, and you can also use that as a way to educate. If I'm going to a bar and there's a ton of men there, and I am making jokes about women, I can throw some education in there, you know? Funny education, funny. If they're laughing, they're gonna think about the joke again, probably. If it's that joke that hits them, they're gonna tell someone else about it. And in their mind, that information is gonna be going in. That's my advice. I don't know if you really... Thanks for watching. Random body part of the day. Beauty mark.